the most common questions I get, either through social media or someone just coming up to me at a competition, is, how did you come up with that? What's the story behind that? And one of my favorite questions is, how the heck did you get that on stage? So we thought we'd make a little behind the scenes video, creating a JPD prop dance. First, let's start out with why we do it. Several of our kids go on to tours, Broadway shows, and cirque shows, which all of those professional jobs use props. We have several alumni that are constantly writing us, thanking us for teaching them how to safely use a prop. Not only how to safely use a prop, but how to move a prop, how to bring it on and off stage, how to lift a prop, all while dancing on them and not looking scared. We raise these kids how to feel safe, but yet how to show no fear while they're doing something incredibly complicated and difficult. We love the artistry that a prop can give. Our props don't sit in the middle of a stage as a backdrop. We use props to actually tell the full story. If we didn't have the prop out there, you wouldn't understand the full concept of the story. We love teaching technique and movement and all different styles, but one of our favorite things to do is tell a story, including a unique and different prop. Certain steps sometimes may be in a different order, but generally, I first come up with a concept. Then I go into the prop development stage, then into what vibe and music we want. Then we start to choreograph, and then usually at that point, we're trying to figure out what the painting of the prop is gonna look like, figuring out how it's gonna load into a truck, how it's gonna get on and off stage. Then we rehearse, and then it's time for stage. Concepts for me just come out of thin air. Usually they have a little something to do with maybe where I'm at in my head or in life. This particular dance, when one door closes, ... obviously the next part of it, another one may open. When you think you've made it somewhere and then someone tells you like, no, that's not happening, and you kind of get inside your own head that you weren't good enough, you never know what that door closing may actually lead to. It might make you fight a little harder or try something new, and that next door that may open may actually be something that is better for you. So that's where the concept all started. I obviously wanted a bunch of doors. From there, I sit down with a prop dad, and he listens to my ideas, and usually they shake their heads like, how the heck am I gonna do this? Or what does she want me to build now? I kind of just tell them where my brain is at. This particular prop was built by one of our dads. His name is John, and he's done several of our props before. He does a lot of our big wood props. He did Brain Activity. That was last year's. He's also done Madison, which was one of my favorites. So when I sat down with him, I said that I somehow want these doors to open and close, but I don't want the kids to open them or close them, so I want it happening on its own. I want levels of doors. From there, I gave him the reins. He kind of came to me and said, do you trust me? And I said, of course. And I didn't see anything until it came into the studio, so that was really exciting. My next step is to figure out the vibe of the music, the vibe of the dance, what I want it to make you feel. Props can have all different types of vibes. It doesn't just mean, oh, that's a prop dance and that's the vibe they're trying to go with it. It can be pretty, it can be dark, it can be uplifting, but this one I wanted to have a ghostly, haunting quality. Knowing that the doors were gonna open and close without a kid touching them made me think of ghosts. I searched for music and I chose Lovely by Miss Billie Eilish. There's something special about her voice. All of us love her in the dance community, I know that. And to me, her voice just is haunting. This one particular song, I loved when it said all alone. The doors closing and opening, and you just don't feel like anybody's there to help or give you a hand through life. When I was editing the music, I realized I didn't want the story to get lost. I didn't want you to have to ask me necessarily, what is this dance about? I wanted you to know where my head was and not guess where my head was. I actually had one of our parents, her name is Vicky, we love her so much. She recorded and spoke and kind of sang a little section at the beginning of the song for me so that everybody right off the beginning would completely understand the concept of this dance.
What happens when one door closes? Another one may open. But is it the right door? Is it the right path in life? When you finally reach the top and that door slams closed on you, what do you do? Do you go back to the starting point? Or do you look for a new path? A new door, a new start.
just love when the prop comes in and to see the kids' faces get so excited, and then to sit there with my ideas that have been in my head for at least 6-7 months start to come together. It's just rewarding for me and it's exciting. I actually make blueprints for the song and the dance. So I write down every single accent, every word that's spoken or sung with the licks. So if I have a long line, that means that note carries out. If I have a line that has an arrow that goes up, that means her voice raises up. So the movement should go up with that note. If I have an arrow that goes down, obviously that means her voice drops. So maybe our bodies and our levels should drop with that tone of her voice. I actually want us to move and sound like the artist. So that's why I make my blueprints. It just makes it easier for me. I have to go sentence by sentence to make sure that the prop works with what my brainwave is talking about. The first All Alones, all the doors slam shut and there's one kid in the front, because to me that makes sense. She's all alone. Another version of All Alone was a door opening and no one was there, because that's another thing, is maybe a door opens but we didn't realize to go to it. So we're all alone, hidden somewhere else, and we're missing the opportunity of something because maybe we're too scared to go to that door. That's the idea behind how I choreograph a prop dance. It takes a lot of time, but it's very rewarding at the end when I watch it all come together. After the kids learn the full choreography of it, the next step for the prop itself is actually figuring out, did it work correctly? Was there something that we needed adjusted? With this dance in particular, we had to go through a lot of chords for the pulley system behind the prop. The front of the dance looks very, very calm, but in the back you have 9 kids running and jumping up and down, trying to close doors, open doors, to try to get the doors closed on time and in the right order, and don't get seen, and jump from this one, wait for that door to close, then run across the whole prop to get to another door. I didn't watch from behind while I was choreographing on purpose because I wanted to just create, but then at the end I watched from behind and I just literally laughed and could not believe how much chaos happens behind there. And I'm just proud of my kids because that's actually a really hard dance to learn, so I give them credit. Once we were finishing the dance, we had to work with prop dad John just to figure out how to make it work a little easier for them, maybe move some of the chords that were hard to get to. We added an extra hinge to make the doors open and close smoother. We usually paint after dress rehearsal, just so that it lasts a little longer. To be honest, they get beat up pretty bad getting taken down and put back together, and then in trucks, then out of trucks. So we wait as long as we can before we actually paint. The vibe I wanted to go with was old world. I wanted it to look more like an old building without it being too beat up, but yet have the right feel to the haunting vibe of the dance. The inside is all painted black, so that when you open the doors, it kind of feels like a black hole. After dress rehearsal, I send group text messages after studying the videos for hours of every single correction. A lot of times it gets up to about 70 to 80 corrections that the kids have to learn and look at before next rehearsal. That helps us get a lot done without actually being in the studio. We usually don't have our prop until right before our first competition. We really don't practice with our props often. It takes about 15 dads on certain props. Other props maybe only 3 or 4, but certain props it takes quite a bit of dads to get it out of the prop yard, get it set up, and then roll it into our rooms. Because that takes so many dads and so much time, we don't really have enough time to do that weekly. After a lot of rehearsal, we go to stage, and it's always a little nerve-wracking the first time a prop dance goes because you just don't know if it's going to work exactly how you always visioned it to work. It's one of my favorites of all times. It really did work. It makes me happy. It makes me excited to know that something that I saw in my head almost 8 months ago worked. This dance went out the first time, and we're very proud of it. It scored the highest score of the whole competition. It was a very special moment. It was thrilling to see something come full circle, and I'm super proud of the kids, and I can't wait to have a great year with this piece and letting everybody enjoy part of what goes on in my brain.